Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is the hardest working nobody in Bitcoin, the hardest working nobody in crypto, Don and Troy. This is the Defion Productions podcast. This is episode number 71. We are currently sitting at a $3.6 trillion market cap in the crypto market, 57.87% Bitcoin dominance, fear and greed index at 60, and the Bitcoin price at 105,487. When I got up this morning a couple hours ago, it was around 102, and I did actually see it dip into the 101s. But we're on a little bit of a pump. Looks like in the last 24 hours, up about 1.5% and some change. ETH is pretty flat, 3,269. XRP 315. And Troy's favorite altcoin, Solana, at 252.44. We are a couple days into the presidency of the first pro-Bitcoin president, Mr. Donald J. Trump. We got our first executive order from him, although it's not necessarily the executive order that, from at least from my Twitter feed, that a lot of Bitcoiners were looking for, but it was the one that the OG Bitcoiners were looking for, and we've talked about it the weeks leading up to the election and the weeks leading up to the inauguration. Ross Ulbricht finally free after 11 unjust years. Ross is back walking the streets, the next thing is the strategic Bitcoin reserve, which me and Troy will definitely talk about. It's one of our topics for today. Troy, how you feeling? How's it going?
I'm cutting out a little bit, so just bear with me. The internet here is trash, so I'm going to try the best I can. But, I mean, we're getting people on board that we basically already have the SBR, the strategic Bitcoin reserve. Like, the things we're passing in Congress, like, it's pointing towards the probability is higher than not. Especially you can look at poly market, and we're well over 50%. So I'm definitely hopeful for that.
Close to 60, I think I saw.
We're anticipating. I think people were anticipating the state on day one, and I heard like a lot of controversy over that, and that's probably why we kind of had this like consolidation breaking out. Okay, but I mean I'm not too worried. Like I'm playing the long game here. I know 2025 is a year for crypto, so. Just the thing is to survive right now. Don't blow up your portfolio. So,
well, in regards to the strategic,
feeling good.
In regards to the strategic Bitcoin reserve, I'll say that it's not going to be something that is going to be an executive order and it's just going to be the be all end all. That's going to take Congress passing things. So even though we lost him, yeah, I'll just keep going on the point. Even though. We're looking to see some sort of executive order from Trump in regards to a strategic Bitcoin reserve. It doesn't necessarily mean that the United States will start buying Bitcoin right after that, or that Bitcoin will necessarily be part of the strategic reserve right away. It'll be very limited, the executive order. It's going to take the bill that Senator Lummis passed, or I'm sorry, didn't pass, that she presented to be passed by both the House and the Senate, and then to reach the president's desk, him to sign that, and then for that to actually be something that is agreed upon by both branches of government, which I think won't be that difficult, being that it's such a strong bipartisan issue now. It's definitely on the Republican side, and there are many Democrat senators and House of Representative congressmen and congresswomen who are pro-Bitcoin. I don't think it'll be that difficult, but you got to keep in mind that there's a lot of more pressing issues. I mean, I know as Bitcoiners that's a big issue for us, and obviously we want to see that, for many different selfish reasons, for our bags, for because this is what we spend a lot of our days talking about and looking at. But I mean the border. There's just a lot of other things that he has to do early with his executive orders and put his energy towards. That's going to come before Bitcoin. I mean, we're what? He was inaugurated on Monday and it's Thursday. We're 3 days into his presidency. I mean, we can pump the brakes a little bit. We don't got to get upset because we don't have a SBR executive order 72 hours after the guy was elected the 47th president. We can relax a little bit on that. But I mean, going back to the inauguration on Monday, it was a pretty big day. Rich, we were kind of talking before we went live about the irony of what the stage looked like for the inauguration. You had a very, very high concentration of wealth sitting in one row or two rows, like right by each other. You had Zuckerberg, you had Bezos, Ellison, the CEO of Google, Tim Cook, like a lot of Elon Musk, obviously. You had a large concentration of wealth, and not only a large concentration of wealth, but also a large concentration of our media, right? Social media and newspapers, with Bezos owning newspapers, and obviously Musk with X and Zuckerberg with Facebook and Google. Like, a lot of where we get our information was concentrated between those six people, as well as the wealth. I mean, it's kind of wild to see like that right in front of us. What do you think, Rich? I know we were talking about that a little bit before we went live.
Yeah, some of my favorite people. Yeah, and they're just there. It's not like, they're not Oz anymore. They're in front. They're up in front. They're involved now, and that's the thing. And a lot of people should have a lot of concerns with that, whether you like their apps and what they do or not. I think, this is it's I don't know. It's reminiscent of like the Industrial Revolution, where the Vanderbilts and everybody they just controlled everything, and that should be concerning to us. I'm glad that we recognize that they should be there, and they should be working with the president. And I'm not a supporter of Trump, but at this point, I'm going to be of the opinion I need him to do a good job. I just want him to do a good job, and if that means he needs to work with these people for whatever reason. But it's funny that I don't think we've ever had that. I don't know if I've seen that before, where you've seen these guys that we talk about our behind the scenes are actually at the inauguration. Not to this level of wealth.
No, definitely not. That's definitely something new. I do want to apologize to the viewers real quick too. I am a little bit under the weather. I probably sound like it.
And we lost Troy.
It looks like we lost Troy too. So we got internet issues going on. We got sicknesses going on, but we plow through. We don't take days off around here. We keep grinding. Also, if you're watching new to the platforms, you're on Facebook, you're on X or YouTube, please consider liking the video that you're watching it on the platform. If you're not a follower or subscriber, please consider doing that as well. Sharing this content out. We do this every single week. We are the only live stream filming live out of our Western New York area that we live in the Buffalo, Niagara Falls area. So supporting us helps us continue to do what we do, bringing this content to our area locally and internationally with the advent of social media. Getting back to the SBR thing that we were kind of starting the podcast off with, I want to bring up a tweet by Joe Carlesi. He kind of reiterated what I said. He tweeted earlier this morning, "People keep waiting on crypto executive orders when it's been obviously that little other than the light SBR can be accomplished via an executive order," which is kind of what I was saying. The executive order in regards to a SBR is not really going to have the kind of impact that I think people think it will have. That's something that has to go through Congress, like I was saying earlier, and that's why I don't think it's top of the heap for him right now. He's got a lot of more pressing issues that happened from the prior administration in regards to the things I mentioned already, the border, inflation, repealing some of the nonsense that the prior administration, the woke policies that they had. That's taking his focus the first week, and I think as well as it should. Even as a Bitcoiner, I'm okay being 72 hours into this presidency without a executive order on Bitcoin and the SBR. The fact that we have a Bitcoin-friendly president in and of itself, and we don't have the old administration in that gave us choke point 2.0 and gave us all the power to Elizabeth Warren and her cronies in the Senate. Like, we don't have to worry about that now. The fact that that's over is really, really good, and I think we can take some victory laps in knowing that it's a new day and we have a pro Bitcoin administration, and we can kind of move forward with that. Another tweet from late last night. I'm sorry, no, middle of the day yesterday, actually, from American Hodl. A lot of you weren't here for it, but this is exactly what the beginning of 2017 felt like. When you've been in Bitcoin for a little while, you have a tendency, and I'm guilty of it too, to look at the price multiple times in a day. Just from knowing that the price can move. Unlike traditional markets, you're not going to get huge volatility in the traditional markets very often, unless something actually occurs that makes a price either go down really, really a lot because of something with the company, or if you have like a merger or some news that makes the price spike up. But in Bitcoin, that's just an everyday occurrence. The price can gyrate thousands and thousands of dollars just because, for many different factors. So you look at the price, you watch the price, and people get accustomed to looking at their apps and looking at their platforms and skew their time frames. They're like, man, we've been in the $100,000 to $108,000 sideways time frame forever, and it's like, bro, like we went from March to basically November, chopping sideways in the same $10,000 for over 7 or 8 months. It's like that stuff happens. And American Hodl's tweet was, if you go back and look at 2017, we had the same sort of similar price action in January of 2017 before we got big run-ups in the spring, and then obviously the big run-off, blow-off top in the fall. So, zoom out. Keep perspective. Don't get too emotional one way or another. Whatever your strategy was last week, keep the same strategy. Whether you're holding or adding, or God forbid you're like Troy and you're trading. Whatever your strategy is, try to keep it the same. Another set of news. I actually didn't see this yesterday, but I guess when I was doing some of the research, I saw that, people were talking about it. But Jameson Lopp tweeted and a confirmation that Ledger co-founder David Balland was kidnapped and a cryptocurrency ransom was demanded. He was rescued by GIGN and multiple suspects are in custody. Apparently, one of the co-founders of Ledger. And again, he tweeted an article, and unfortunately, it's in French, so I can't really read it. I guess I could hit the translator to kind of translate it, but I'm not going to do that at this point in time. But so the Ledger founder was he was kidnapped, and they asked for a ransom. The ransom was paid, and apparently he's safe now. But this is just another example of got to be safe out there. I've seen some people, which is absolutely wild to me, post screenshots of their Bitcoin stack or their crypto portfolios, exactly how many coins they have, the value of those coins, like doxing themselves. A couple anonymous accounts have done that, and maybe there's an argument to be made if they're anonymous that it's not as dangerous. But I mean, there's so many wizards out there that can kind of reverse engineer who people are. With limited information, that I wouldn't even feel comfortable doing that. But if I could give anybody a piece of advice in this space, whenever people ask me, and they ask me in real life and even online and social media sometimes, how much Bitcoin do you have, or how much is your stack, and I have leaned into a response that I give everybody, and I always say not enough. It's always the right answer in my opinion, and it kind of like leaves me from having to answer that question and doxing myself into how much Bitcoin I have and people knowing or wondering, and it just keeps it mysterious. I don't think anybody should know how much you have, and I think it's just best practice to be as anonymous as you can, and I say that as somebody that runs a platform where obviously I'm a Bitcoiner, and I've talked about owning Bitcoin and stuff like that, but you're not going to catch me out here telling people how much I have or where it's at or how I hold it and all those types of things. So just be very conscious of how you're moving in this ecosystem, because here's the co-founder of one of the ways that people self-custody their Bitcoin, and he was kidnapped. and held for ransom, and it looks like the ransom was paid. So stuff like that only incentivizes bad actors to seek out people that they think have high net worths in Bitcoin or crypto, and to do things and be bad actors with those people. So stay safe out there, ladies and gentlemen. You don't want to be in a situation where you got to have your family try to get ransom together to get you back. We'll go into our next article here. Again, I was assuming that Troy was going to be on and Troy was going to kind of share his screen and stuff like that. So it's kind of last minute. So I apologize to the viewers that I'm not able to share these tweets and these articles as I go through them. But I'll just read them and we'll kind of just like.
I'm going to jump in
through.
just with something funny that's happening.
Okay.
'Cause it's the kind of day that we're having.
Go ahead.
I just realized that there's a hole in the roof above me, so I have like ice dropping on me now all of a sudden.
Yeah,
so
that
it's just
is
one of
not
those
good.
days. So I'm actually literally going to go to save our equipment. I'm going to go get an umbrella while you go through some of this.
Okay, yeah, and for
so
those
that's the day we're having here.
Those of you that don't know, we are in Western New York.
Bitcoin.
We just had negative temperature days back to back. Yesterday was like -4 degrees. It was snowing this morning in our area. We are in the Buffalo Niagara Falls area, like I said. So having a hole in the roof over our studio is not a good thing. So Rich is going to take care of that so we don't have any more technical difficulties with any of our equipment here. But this tweet here that I'm going to read is from Jacob King. He often tweets bearish. He's from what I assume to be a TradFi guy. He tweets a lot of nonsense in regards to Bitcoin. He tweeted at 12:06 a.m. this morning, Bitcoin is in for a big crash. All indicators are flashing red. Fake Bitcoin strategic reserve hype narrative falling apart. Tether hasn't printed in over a month. Whales are dumping their bags quietly. Attention shifting towards altcoins. I have over 32.3 million in short positions in Bitcoin and confident we will be tanking hard below 100,000 very shortly. If you haven't taken profits yet, it's not too late. And he tweeted that when Bitcoin was around 102,000. And when we opened up the podcast today, we were at about 105. We are closely approaching 106 at this point. So when I woke up and saw 102, I tweeted back at him this morning because this is dangerous. I mean, this is one of those accounts. He's got like five. Let me look. Let me go to his account and tell you precisely. 517.7 thousand followers. So this gentleman has a lot of people who follow him. Hits the algorithm. When he tweets something, he gets a lot. This tweet here has 125,000 impressions. So you're tweeting this out. People are taking your advice and thinking, "Oh my God, Bitcoin's gonna crash." And somebody that hasn't done the research that is getting into Bitcoin is thinking to themselves, "Oh, I got to go sell my Bitcoin." And so I tweeted back to him and I said, number one, post proof of and I put your in capital letters, 32.3 million of shorts. Anyone can say they are shorting. If you're going to post this kind of stuff as a large X account, back it up with some transparency. That's number one. Anybody can say that they're shorting $30 million of Bitcoin. I want you to screenshot and show me it's your account and you're actually actively shorting 30-something million dollars of Bitcoin right now. That's number one. Number two, until you do the 100 plus hours of studying Bitcoin, you shouldn't be giving anyone advice on what Bitcoin is, does, or will do. You TradFi guys that are fiat maxis are proven time and time again to be wrong and take zero accountability. You just wait for the next small dip or some sideways action and rinse and repeat your shtick. And that's what these guys do. These large account TradFi guys. And yeah, there are the Peter Schiffs out there that I truly believe are just trolling or doing it for engagement, that they probably at this point don't really believe what they're tweeting. It's kind of their brand. But there's guys like this guy that really haven't done the work, haven't done the research. They got their nice little S&P 500 index funds, and they got their 401ks and their IRAs and maybe real estate portfolios or whatever they have. And I'm not judging. I'm just making the example. But they haven't done the actual research in what Bitcoin is, why it was created, why it exists, and why it's successful. And they come in here and say, "Well, I'm shorting Bitcoin for 32.3 million. It's going for a big crash. crash. It's going to be way under 100. It's over. The top's in. It's going to shift to altcoins. It's like, bro, what are you talking about? Somebody that's reading this tweet that might own a couple thousand in Bitcoin might actually sell because of this and miss out on the gains that are coming. And then more importantly, get frustrated and not put the rest of the research in and become a Bitcoiner like we are. Like it's dangerous in my opinion. And I think these guys with these large followings that tweet this nonsense hold way too much power. I hate the fact that so many people follow these guys and make these accounts get so many impressions, and so many people can get hurt financially by these stupid tweets. So, I don't have a ton of followers. I only have a couple thousand followers, but I'll do my part and I'll respond and call them out. And hopefully a couple people will see mine along with their tweets and think twice about the shitty advice that these large account TradFi guys are going to give people. So, it is what it is. The next piece of news that I want to talk about, I prefaced it at the beginning as well. The executive order that Trump did sign on day 2, not on day 1, and I know some Bitcoiners were a little bit upset about that. And I may have tweeted myself on day 1, eagerly anticipating it, but he did follow through on day 2. Ross Ulbricht was pardoned late yesterday. Tuesday, late Tuesday night, after 11 years being unjustly incarcerated. He is finally a free man and walks the streets of the United States of America, and that's pretty big. And that was one of the main things that the Libertarian Party was lobbying for in putting their support behind Trump. As a matter of fact, it was like the number one thing. And when Trump tweeted, I believe on Truth Social, and I think he might have screenshotted it and tweeted it on Twitter as well. But it was that he said to the Libertarian Party that you asked for this, you were a big supporter of my campaign, and I followed through with that and did that for you guys, letting Russ and the Bitcoin community have that. The Bitcoin historian Pete Rizzo tweeted out early this morning, Ross Ulbricht receives over 260,000 donations in Bitcoin on day 1. At this rate, he'll have over $1 million in 3 days. So roughly 2.6-ish Bitcoin were donated to Ross Ulbricht. Again, for those of you that don't know, the whole strategic Bitcoin reserve conversation, all those Bitcoin that we hold right now, the hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin, a lot of those were from Silk Road. Those were Ross's. They did sell off at least 100,000 that Tim Draper got a lot of back in 2015 and 2016 that were Ross's. So when he was arrested, and they confiscated a lot of Bitcoin that would be worth billions and billions of dollars in today's value, that although he is free, he won't get to enjoy the kind of wealth that he would have had if he never would have been incarcerated in the first place. There was another article by Cointelegraph that I did see yesterday as well, that there is a wallet that it's apparently Ross Ulbricht's wallet. This is the rumor, that has 430 Bitcoin in it, and it's been untouched for 13 years. If he does have access to that wallet, we could start to see some of the Bitcoin being moved.
That was the question I was going to ask you, because I don't know much about it.
Yeah.
So they couldn't really take his Bitcoin.
No, they did.
They were able. So how did they seize it? Like, how do they seize it if it's in that respect? They forced him to turn it over, or what was the circumstances?
Well, you have to remember that when he was arrested, this was 11 years ago, and the technology doesn't exist that exists now in how we can custody.
So they were able to take his access, so to speak.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was hundreds of thousands of coins. And the other thing too was I don't know specific, but I know that like he's running a business, so coins are moving in and out. So there's a lot of like moving in and out of the coins while he's transacting as the facilitator of that Silk Road website. So tracking that, like the Bitcoin blockchain is transparent. So you, especially back then where the ecosystem was way smaller and there's a lot less trading volume, the majority of Bitcoin trading volume was Silk Road. Okay. That's where people were buying stuff illicit. So it wasn't that difficult to kind of see, even though the transactions were occurring on the dark web, anybody looking at the blockchain could see all the transactions happening, and it was specific to that. So yeah, when he was arrested, they confiscated a couple 100,000 coins. Like I said, Tim Draper at a $500 price point. They had three. I know of three auctions for sure, and Tim Draper bought like 50,000, 30,000, and maybe another 30 or 40,000 on three different auctions back in, it was either 2015 or 2016. I might have the year off. It was one of those 2 years.
And the government auctioned it off.
Yeah, government auctioned those off. But they still had other coins from that, and a couple other seizures too. It's not all Ross's coins, but some of those were his coins. But that 200,000 that the United States government has, part of that were Ross's coins. But people were asking, and I saw a lot of this on Twitter. People were kind of confused that if he gets pardoned, does he get back the assets that they confiscated from him? And people were posting, I don't know if it was the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, whatever laws that are associated to it. And this is crazy. When you get pardoned, like Ross got pardoned, basically his pardon wasn't a commutation. It's a complete full pardon, like he was never arrested. So if he goes for a job interview, his record will be clean if he has no other arrests, right? So in the eyes of the law, he didn't commit the crime. But anything they confiscate from you, you do not get back.
I think I knew that. I think I remember that from another case many years ago. And I was just wondering if, he can't, I think he could try to sue. But it's one of those things with, a pardon, you're lucky to get the pardon kind of thing. Like, I think that, I don't think you're right. I don't think he has much recourse.
Almost none.
Yeah, like he can try, but I don't think it's going to be. But that's interesting, like just because I do think long term, it's an interesting thing about Bitcoin, like in terms of the legality when it gets seized. Like if you're a drug dealer and they seize your house, and then somehow you get pardoned, you get your house back. I'm not equating, Bitcoiners to drug dealers, obviously, but like this weird thing that when you do have a legal situation, like if there's probably not been that many cases. There's some, because obviously we know that the government is in possession of some Bitcoin right now, and that's going to probably where they're going to start their strategic reserve. But I'm just wondering, like, when that little guy, like not, he's got, a certain amount, he's got $100,000 in his portfolio, so to speak. Like, what's going to be like it's going to be interesting. Like, I think if the government is going to start recognizing it, then I think there's going to be a lot of weird things that are going to have to be fought out in lawsuits and court cases and stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
It's going to be interesting. That's a lot of stuff I never even thought of until you brought it up.
As I'm scrolling Twitter when you were talking, it just popped up on my news feed. Apparently, earlier today or within the last hour, U.S. President Donald Trump says crypto for the first time during his second term. I guess he said the United States plans to be the crypto leader of the world. I hate that he keeps saying crypto, but I'm not surprised. I guess the other thing we can kind of talk about, because it's like the elephant in the room, is that Trump coin.
Yeah, I was wondering if you're going to bring that up.
Yeah, I am going to bring it up because this and I wish Troy was on for this too, so we can kind of like hash it out, but it's okay. So for those of you that are living under a rock, if you're watching this podcast and you don't know this, I don't know how that could possibly be, but the weekend before the inauguration, so this past weekend, Friday night, Trump held a crypto ball, 7:00 Friday night in Washington, right? 2 days before the inauguration. So he's got the who's who of crypto there, all the Bitcoiners, all the shitcoiners, like they're all, hobnobbing it up. It's like $2,500 a plate to go have dinner with the incoming president. About 8:30 p.m., about an hour and a half into this ball, what have you, a meme coin gets launched, and it's Trump coin. Trump is launching a meme coin, right? Which kind of came out of nowhere because nobody. I'm pretty piped into Bitcoin, crypto, Twitter. Nobody was saying that a meme coin was coming. Nobody was talking about it, and all of a sudden, this meme coin gets dropped. And it's not that a meme coin was dropped per se, although that in and of itself was kind of shitty, at least to me. It was the tokenomics in the meme coin that, when you really look at it, was rather disgusting. Okay, and this is where I wish Troy was in for, because, you know, he's more of an altcoin guy. I'm the Bitcoin maxi, so I know tokenomics, but I don't understand the liquidity pools as much as Troy would, because I just don't play in those streets. I don't trade meme coins, so he would give more insight into this. So I'm going to kind of give you a helicopter overview of it. From what I've seen, 80% of the supply of the coin went to the founders, which would be Trump himself and anybody associated with the creation of that coin. 80% of the coin went to them. Now, there's lockup periods. They couldn't just sell the coin right away. There's somewhere between, I believe, and again, I wish Troy was on for this, I think 3 to 6 months lockup periods where they can start selling after 3 months up to like 6. Another 10% of the coin was for liquidity, which again, I would want Troy to come on to kind of, that's a trading thing. And then the other 10% was actually released to people in the public that could go on and buy it. It was launched on the Solana blockchain. You couldn't just go on Coinbase, or like a normal person that doesn't understand crypto very well wouldn't have just been able to go on and buy it. You would have had to be somebody that's traded, that understands like DEXs and all that kind of shit, that would have been able to get it. So your regular, normal, like average citizen wasn't going to get that coin, at least in the initial aspect of the run up. It ran up. I think it got up. I might be wrong. Close to $100, somewhere around $100. And then Sunday comes along and Melania drops a coin. Literally seconds, maybe minutes after Melania drops, Trump coin drops like 40% in the same span, right? So Melania's coin comes out. Tokenomics or something similar to that. And now you have the Trump coin, you have the Melania coin. And this is like the day before the inauguration. And now you have Bitcoiners, at least the Bitcoiners that
And these weren't just their names. They were connected to these coins.
Yes. So, you know, Bitcoiners that are like me and Bitcoiners that I respect have always been skeptical. Like real Bitcoiners are skeptical of all politicians. Like, we're not MAGA. We're not like team anybody. Like, I don't bend the knee.
If Biden would have been smart and came out and supported crypto, maybe some Bitcoiners would have supported.
Bitcoin is apolitical. Bitcoin's not created for MAGA. Bitcoin's not created for any of that. So,
As an outsider, I completely agree with
while I am happy that Biden is not the president, and I'm also happy that Trump has embraced Bitcoin and is doing things that look like are not going to hinder our industry, I remain skeptical.
So let me ask you a question, because I want to get some perspective on this,
Yeah.
because you know this stuff a lot more than I ever could. The Trump coin, the Melania coin, how did they compare to like the Hawk2 Girl coin? Like, are they the same level of in terms of being a real thing? You know, I mean, like,
I want to answer that while prefacing that these are opinions now,
Right.
because
Of
I am,
course.
again, if Troy was on, he could answer these way better. I am not a shitcoiner. I've never owned a meme coin in my entire life. I've never owned Doge, Shiba, and none of those coins have I ever had. So I can't, the same way somebody that's never owned Bitcoin can't talk about Bitcoin. I'm going to give you an objective opinion based on my time understanding just Bitcoin and crypto. So I want to preface that with what I say, because I'm sure there'll be people that'll hear me say what I'm going to say and completely disagree with me and may even be right in some of the things that I'm saying. So in my opinion, yes, Trump coin, Melania coin, and Hawk2 coin are all basically the same thing. Yeah. The difference of Trump coin and Melania coin is Trump and Melania are way more popular celebrities than Hawk2 is. Right. That's why a Hawk2 coin rugs in like a day or two. It goes up and then goes down, and people are out because she's 15 minutes of fame. She's not a real She's a C-list celebrity. Yeah. So there's nothing to hold anybody's excitement, right? You have the incoming president and first lady of the United States, arguably the most popular man on the planet. I think you could probably the most well-known man on the planet.
Sure, he's
Trump
up
at this
there.
point probably is.
Yeah.
Top 5 for sure, right?
Yeah, right now, yeah.
So launching a coin with those names attached to it and then knowing that they're involved in some sort of way is going to make the coin last longer than these other coins. However, the utility of these coins, there's nothing behind these
Well,
coins.
that's my point. That's kind of my point.
They're not
is that-
decentralized. They're not.
Like it's no different to me, and these are one of the reasons I don't like Trump is because this is like the Bible, is sneakers, is Trump University, like putting his name, just naming rights on a hotel. It's not really the Trump hotel. Like some of them are his hotels, but some of them it's just naming rights, and it's just putting his brand out there. And this is just another example of just to me shameless branding, which is fine, but my problem when it's the hotel, but because you don't have to stay at that hotel, but if you're like you might buy this coin, you know what I mean, and there really is, it's not a thing, and that's my problem with like when I think that's why the outsiders to this world like me think that a lot of this is bullshit, and I think this hurts Bitcoin. I think because then it's like, see, it's just one of these other fucking scams. So excuse my language,
Rich.
but that's kind of like from me looking in. This it's like he goes and he says he's like into Bitcoin and crypto, great, but then he goes and does this, which I think just hurts the brand. It hurts the concept.
You sat here a year and some change ago in the other building, I think it was when we did this podcast, but I debated with Troy. We talked about it where he was talking about how he felt meme coins. I'm sorry, I'm about to sneeze.
So I'm going to cut out of your shot so people don't have to watch that.
All right, I'm back.
You see my umbrella going up. This is pretty cool. I had to like freaking attach umbrella to a light stand, so I don't get I couldn't care if I got one. I want my equipment getting ruined. But you're right now. I'm going to wait for you. People need to see that.
All right, I'm back.
All right, he's back.
We debated. Troy took the stance that he thought meme coins were a net positive for crypto, and he thought it would onboard new people, it would get people in, and I took the stance that meme coins were a net negative, that it would turn people off because more often than not they're going to come in not knowing the space, and they're going to come into some coin they shouldn't be in at the wrong time, lose money that they could put into a stable coin like Bitcoin or even one of the top 5 cryptos that I don't necessarily subscribe to, but at least Bitcoin, and take the time to learn about the coin, that I thought meme coins were a net negative for the space. And what you just said I mean, you keep saying you're an outsider, but you produce a Bitcoin podcast. So like every week you're less and less of an outsider. Sure. I mean, you are a producer of a Bitcoin podcast, the only one in Western New York. Yeah. So you're kind of on the team now.
No,
but
I definitely understand it more than I did a year ago.
No, I know.
We're just over a year. I think I just kind of think we've got to go look that up. But
yeah,
no, you're right.
October of 23.
And I think I brought this analogy up. This reminds me of like the early 2000s, maybe like late 90s, when everybody was launching a new website that sold shit.
Yeah.
And everybody was buying these. Oh,
yeah.
this is going to replace this one. And
Pets.com.
obviously Amazon won the war, but this is going to be the new search engine, and people were spending, and I have relatives that invested in fake ones because they thought, and there's hucksters out there, and I think a lot of these meme coins, in my opinion, 90% of them are probably don't really plan to be anything.
It's number biased, and it's also the people that just don't understand how investing works. Like everybody wants to get rich quick.
Right.
They don't want to put money in something that's worth $100,000 a coin. They want to put something in that's a couple dollars a coin because they want to believe that their $1,000 could turn into $100,000 when the coin goes up 100x.
Well, because everybody has the story. Well, my uncle bought Apple at 20 cents.
Of course, and they have the crypto. And there's crypto
knows
stories too.
That guy, and that guy doesn't seem to be that rich. So I don't know if. Usually, the irony is that he sold it.
Well, it's not even that. It's like we talk about the diamond in the rough. We don't talk about we talk about the 1 out of 100. We don't talk about the 99 out of 100 that put their money in and get wiped out or don't make anything. Right. It's like, of course, somebody every week, somebody or maybe not every week because it can get pushed out, but like people are winning the lottery. Like every lottery drawing has a winner, whether it's now or it takes 2 or 3 drawings, they eventually give it away to somebody. So somebody wins, right? So somebody has to win, which means that a lot of people lose. Right. No different investing. When you see somebody make a ton of money investing, like money flows from the low side to the high side. Like It's all like money. Everybody comes to the market with their money. Like this is what that people don't understand about investing. Like we're not making. I mean, okay, let me preface that. The government does make money out of thin air, but we don't make money out of thin air, right? So when we come to the market as individual participants, we come with our capital to the market. All of us come to the market with our capital, and then we trade, right? There has to be winners and there has to be losers. Right. Some of us are going to lose our capital while others are going to win the people that loses capital. It flows around, right? Yeah. So you're going to have winners and losers, and the people that win a lot means that they're winning a lot of money, which means a lot of individuals lost so that one person could get all that money. That's
why I always compare it to Vegas. Like there are people that are professional gamblers, who played poker for or blackjack, and they are good at it. Like they have a level of skill. Yes, there's luck involved, but you have to have some skill. But you don't hear of a professional slots machine person, or like it's like because you're totally dependent. Yes, there are people that kind of have done the math and they've done the science and they've read a bunch of websites and they know how to hit and stuff like that. But it's not like a skill. And I think when you think of a lot of people that are investors, they're going up to a slot machine, putting their money in, pulling the arm. Not we even do that anymore, but like. That somehow that's their plan versus the guy that goes and has a plan on how to play blackjack, or like in my case, I'm really good at roulette. Like I don't always win, but I know how to play the odds of the table, so I can go and enjoy myself when I play roulette. But I'm not trying to get rich off of roulette. You're not going to get rich off of blackjack. It takes too long. Like you have to put the time in. And I think investing in crypto is, well, specifically Bitcoin, I would say that if you want to compare it to something, a lot of these meme coins are a slot machine. Maybe you'll get lucky, but more likely Bitcoin to me is blackjack. Like you got to put the time in and you got to be patient. You're not going to triple your money in one hand.
Slot machine is a good analogy for trading in general, because you could go to the casino on a random Saturday and hit a jackpot on a slot machine, or just win. Just win. Let's just say you win. You go with 100 and you come home with 1,000 one day, right? Anybody, it can happen to anybody. The same way that somebody could put money in a coin and win on that coin and make a bunch of money and then falsely believe that they can beat slot machines, or falsely believe that they can beat trading. If you go to the casino 7 days a week and play slot machines, you will be a loser, and the math says so, right? Yep. You will lose less. This is crazy. You'll probably lose less, although it would end up being a lot of money, betting on a slot machine than you probably would if you try to trade every single day. You'd be wiped out faster trading than you would in the casino, because unless you're studying trading, and even the people that study don't win all the time, unless you're just putting all your time and energy into trading, you're not going to be successful. And even those people still don't have the it to be successful. And it's like you hear these people, again, like Friday night, a couple insiders get in and you see these screenshots of people making $1 million on the Trump coin. They're like, oh my God, MAGA, I'm going to go put my money in Trump coin. And like people were literally, I had to, if anybody's watching this pod, I apologize, but I just had to stop responding to some people because they were messaging, what do you think about this Trump coin?
Right.
The first like 2 people I like responded, and then I just stopped. I'm just like, you're asking me about Trump coin?
Well, it's funny.
I film a goddamn podcast every week about Bitcoin, telling you about Bitcoin and crypto. You're asking me about Trump coin?
You. If I was going to ask somebody about a meme coin, I would text Troy. I wouldn't text you, because you're going to don't waste your time just by Bitcoin. Like that's going to be on your tombstone. Just buy Bitcoin. Like that's what it's going to be. Because like that's, I know. If I could sum you up in one in one line,
I know.
Like, that would be and because it's not that. If you just are smart in your mind with your philosophy, you know what your philosophy is. And I think anyone that's like everybody's, everybody's trying to get rich, and it's fine. We all want to get rich, but like there's like I don't expect as a podcaster that suddenly one day I'm gonna blow up and I'm gonna be a Hawk 2 girl. Like I'm not. Like and if I did, I would think I would have more knowledge on how to manage that and turn that into something legit if I got my opportunity. But think of in my case, like I didn't just happen to be walking down the street and some guy interviewed me. I've been putting the time in.
Yeah.
Like I've been doing this shit for 20 years in some respects, in some ways longer. So if I do hit it big, it's based on the time and energy that I've spent researching and producing a bunch of pods and learning best practices. And I think my investment is in this industry, so to speak.
Yeah,
and I think
I
that's
agree.
what it is
Yeah.
for investing.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely agree. The other thing that went on this past week too that we can kind of talk about in the TradFi world, they had their Davos, TradFi jerk-offs fest where all the TradFi guys go to Davos and jerk each other off and talk about how everybody's so smart when it comes to investing, because the government prints infinite amounts of money and locks up your money in 401ks and IRAs so that everybody can get rich that owns banks and stocks. I digress. But the part that I do want to talk about is that BlackRock CEO Larry Fink was talking. In a side note, they actually had, which is kind of a big deal, they actually had one crypto session at Davos, which they usually don't have. And they had Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, kind of getting ambushed by all the TradFi guys who were saying, Bitcoin's a tulip and mania, and he was standing his ground in defending Bitcoin in the industry. That's a side note of that. But Larry Fink was interviewed, and he did mention that he said if everyone adopted a 2% or 5% allocation, and he's speaking about Bitcoin, you could see a Bitcoin price at 700,000. Let me see if I can get. I'm going to bring this. I'm going to bring the mic down to this to play this for the viewers so they can hear it, because I think it's pretty good. Hold on 1 second. Tell me if you can hear this in the microphone, Rich.
As long as
It was very clear to me
Hear it?
that crypto is a currency of fear. And that's okay.
To some extent.
Yeah, but that's okay, because if you're frightened of your debasement of your currency, or you're frightened of your economic or political stability of your country, you can have an internationally based instrument called Bitcoin that will overcome those local fears. And so I'm a big believer in the utilization of that as an instrument. And so if that becomes true, and you see that it is it could be a proper hedge against maybe hope security or equities.
Yeah.
The question is, could you see a 2 or 5% allocation? I was with a sovereign wealth fund during this week, and that was the conversation. Should we have a 2% allocation? Should we have a 5% allocation? If everybody adopted that conversation, but it would be 500,000, 600,000, 700,000 per Bitcoin.
So yeah, Larry Fink talking about asset managers shifting their strategy to, a 2% or 5% allocation is not a lot. If we get to a world where they're allocating 2 or 5%, then we get to a world where they start advocating real percentages, right? And if 2 or 5% gets us to 700,000, like these conversations that we're having about $1 million plus Bitcoin are reality. Like if asset managers start doing 10% of a portfolio, like if 5% 700, do the math. 10% is what, 1.5 million? Like
the funny thing is that if it's 2% and it goes up to that value, it's not 2% anymore.
No,
because it ends
I
up
know.
being just the math makes it more than 2%.
Yeah.
You invested 2%, but then it goes up, and now because of the value, it's 10% or whatever it goes to.
Oh, believe me, I know how the math works because there's been times where my net worth has been egregiously in Bitcoin based on the price appreciation.
Sure.
Price appreciation. The first time I actually ever realized any fiat from my Bitcoin was when I was 95% of my net worth was Bitcoin. I'm like, and this is before the pandemic. Right. I'm like, if this thing fails, I'm in trouble.
Yeah, right.
So I took a little bit off the table, but now I still have a high percentage, but I'm trying to make it higher and higher at this point. I'm completely comfortable in that reality. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of how it works. Like the number goes up and the percentage of the allocation just by nature of the price going up goes up. So if these asset managers are actively trying to put higher percentages into their funds of Bitcoin, it just like the hyper Bitcoinization scale just starts to really move.
Right. No, I think like the more guys like Larry Fink talk about it, and it's coming up in production, it's coming up in these meetings with these big companies, and the president's talking about it, and it's just out there more. It's becoming the establishment, and once it's become the establishment, it's I don't want to say too big to fail because we know that that's not true, but there definitely like it becomes definitely part of the establishment, and it's harder for once you're part of the establishment for it to kind of completely collapse.
He's in Davos, Trump.
Oh, is he there?
Yeah, he's in it because Alex Jones just tweeted, President Donald Trump just told Davos globalists he will make the United States the world capital of artificial intelligence and crypto. So he flew out to Davos and he's speaking there.
Yeah, that's it. I looked it up too.
I'll tell you one thing about Trump that, you know, you can hate him, you can love him, whatever the case may be. Like that dude, he's got to be a vampire. 78 years old. He doesn't sleep.
He definitely when he gets an idea, I think he definitely goes all in on it in terms of like what he should know about it. I think he's probably like goes down the rabbit hole and learning about stuff. And I think he's been around this stuff long enough that I don't like everything about him, obviously. I think you don't either, but definitely like he sees it, and like, you know, this, whether it's AI, I'm more impressed with this concept of AI and I do, one of the things I appreciate the fact that even in the last administration, this concept of bringing chip production back to the United States, which is a big thing now. I have friends that work in that, bringing intellectual people back from Korea and making them, if they want to work in Korea, then go move there. Like if you want to work for a company and you're going to be involved in that production, then you better do it in the United States, or, like that was a thing for a lot of engineers that I know. I have a couple friends that are engineers and they work in that industry, and they're now in the United States developing. And again, that intellectual property of having our own chips. So maybe they're not as good as the Korean chips or the Chinese chips, whatever, but we're making them because not everybody has to have the top level. We need to have a cut of that market. And I think AI, we need to have a major cut of that market in the country. And those have to be jobs. We have to have people, they're involved in these things, whether it's solar panels, whatever it is. Like we need to build new industries in this country. Can't be just cars anymore like in this other crap. We need to build new industries, and what's the industries of tomorrow? And we need to have those jobs in the United States. We have to do that. And if he's able to do that, then he'll be heralded as a great president because he did that.
I'm seeing multiple tweets too. And again, I'm not buying into this, but people are tweeting, and this is like the fourth one I've come across. So I'm going to talk about it. Trump to sign an executive order at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, followed by Trump to hold a call with President of El Salvador at 3:30 p.m. Bitcoin stockpile ? Like, I don't think the two are related. And again, I could be wrong, but I think if he signs an executive order in regards to a strategic Bitcoin stockpile, I don't think it does anything yet. I don't think it really changes much until Congress gets the opportunity to pass Lummis's bill. I did see as I was scrolling. Let me go back up. I saw Senator Lummis. She tweeted about an hour ago, honored to chair the Senate Banking Subcommittee on Digital Assets. So now we have a banking subcommittee on digital assets, which is good. She tweeted, digital assets are the future, and if the United States wants to remain a global leader in financial innovation, Congress needs to urgently pass bipartisan legislation establishing a comprehensive legal framework for digital assets that strengthens the U.S. dollar with a strategic Bitcoin reserve. I am humbled by my colleagues that have placed their trust in me to chair this historic subcommittee, and I look forward to shepherding bipartisan legislation to President Trump's desk this year that secures our financial future. I'll tell you what, man, as a side note, thinking back like 2 or 3 years ago, if somebody would have said there is going to be a congressperson that's going to be a Bitcoin maxi in 2025, craft who you think that would be and what the characteristics would be, I would have never picked a woman from Montana that's in her 60s. I never would have. I would have
Right.
lost all my money betting on that.
Right.
Because Lummis and I think she's in her 60s. I'm 50s or 60s maybe. She's
not your traditional Bitcoin.
she's not. Yeah, she's not younger than me. She's not a Zoomer or millennial. And she is a Bitcoin because she doesn't say crypto. She says Bitcoin. She might say crypto once in a while, but when she talks about digital assets, it's followed by the word Bitcoin. She talks about Bitcoin. She doesn't talk about shitcoins. She's not talking about a shitcoin strategic reserve. She's talking about a Bitcoin strategic reserve. And she has said, even herself, in interviews that she's done about going down the Bitcoin rabbit hole, studying Bitcoin, understanding Bitcoin. They have to disclose. So she's disclosed her own holdings, and she owns quite a bit of JD Vance owns somewhere between and it's probably more now because this is when he was running and the price has gone up double since then, so it's probably double this, but somewhere between 250 and 500,000 of Bitcoin.
Let's be honest, how many of these politicians for or against own it?
Yeah,
let's be honest. Like if we could see and if we could know, we would find out that half of the Democrats that have standed against Bitcoin actually own some of it. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. Like, politicians, and this is our view on politicians in general, like, they'll say one thing, but they'll do what's right for their own financial portfolio all day long. So, but I'm glad that there's someone, again, that's trying to, like, reframe the conversation about the future of our strategic reserves. That's the way I look at it.
I will real quick, last couple of minutes, talk about because I have a video on this that has about 20,000 views on YouTube, and I've interacted with enough of these people. It's in my algorithm. But I just want to remind people that Picoin is still a shitcoin. It still does not have an open mainnet, and it does not take 6 years to create a crypto project. And all of you that think that Picoin is going to be worth $314,000 a coin are out of your godforsaken mind. Please, please, for the love of God, take that time and energy that you do tweeting about how great Picoin is and how it's going to change the world, and take some of that time and start studying Bitcoin. Because some of these people that are Picoin maxis that think Picoin is the best cryptocurrency, it's going to overtake Bitcoin, and it's a coin that you mine on your phone that still doesn't have an open mainnet and any liquidity in it, and we're going on 6 years on this project. For the love of God, can somebody please help these people and get them into, at the very least, again, I'm not advocating for this, but at the very least, into a shitcoin that they can at least see some real value in, because Pi has none of that. On a daily basis, Rich, at least, I get some interaction from some idiot that comes on my video on YouTube and comments about how I don't know what I'm talking about, that I'm going to cry tears when Picoin overtakes Bitcoin. And It started out as just like a game, and now it's just like I really sincerely feel sorry, because the majority of these people are in impoverished nations, and they've been targeted by the team from Stanford that created this coin that is crushing ad revenues on the app and have social media platforms with 2-3 million people that they're tweeting shit and monetizing. Right. The amount of money that they're making from a coin that technically does not exist because you cannot trade it is criminal.
Yeah, well, like, so, because within my universe here, we have the people that post shit, and they're clickbait, and but the reason they're doing it is they want to get as much hate as they possibly can to get advertisers, so they continue just to say shit that most of them don't really believe, but they say stuff because it's controversial, because they think they're building their comments. So, like, most of us, we go online and we see something on Threads or X or whatever, we want to comment. When I am against somebody, unless it's something that I really think is just a regular dude, if it's anybody with a brand and he's got more than a few thousand followers, I'm not clicking it, I'm not responding, because I know that all it is to build up, like, advertising dollars. They have no interest in really building their brand. It's just they want to get enough followers so that they get monetized. So that's really all why they're saying things like, whatever it is, whether it's about sports or sci-fi or whatever it is, and including this stuff. Like they're and that's what I think that Piecoin is. It's just like their business model is how much money can we make off the advertising. Like that's really what it is. They don't ever there's no financial gain for them to actually launch it at this point because they're
They'll
making
lose.
enough money
They'll
off
lose.
the advertising. So why
when
do it?
when the open market
Why
when it
would
hits
you
the
spend
open
money
market,
on
it's going to
R&D at
tank,
this point?
and
Like-
then people are going to lose interest and they're going to lose their ad revenue. I mean, that's why they're not. It's never going to launch. Real quick, again, I'll end the podcast by saying if you're watching this on X, YouTube, or Facebook, please follow all of our socials. I believe it's underneath the screen, running right now as I'm talking. It helps a lot if you like our content, gets it out into the algorithm. If you live in the Western New York area and you're watching this, again, we are the only Bitcoin and crypto live stream that live streams every single week, Thursday mornings at 11 o'clock. So if you're a Bitcoiner or you're into crypto, support our content, help it get out there, help the signal get out there for us. And I want to say too, Rich, I think I haven't gone yet, which is probably going to be surprising to some viewers. I've never gone to a Bitcoin conference, like the Bitcoin yearly conference. This year it's in Vegas, and I'm about 90% gonna book.
Go to Vegas
Once
anyway,
I saw Ross get released, and I feel like he'll probably end up being a speaker, and I just feel like the whole conference is going to be a vibe. Even though there's a lot of shit coining that goes on at these conferences now. It's in Vegas. I love Vegas. I want to meet some of these people in real life that I interact with on X, that are hardcore Bitcoin maxis that I want to meet in person, and I would love, honestly, Rich, too. This is why I'm bringing it up now. I'd love to film while I'm there.
Yeah,
figure
why not?
out a way to StreamYard fly from the conference.
it's easy.
It's not till May. It's a ways away, but yeah, I want to get this thing, build the signal, do the live stream from Vegas at the Bitcoin conference. I kind of talked to Troy about it. We were talking about it as well, and I have another friend who might come out as well. But we'll end this. We're at a little over the 1 hour mark. End it as we always do, and this goes for all of life, not just a Bitcoin saying, "Don't trust, verify." See you guys.